Alright, very good afternoon to all of you from Sec 3, 5 and 3, 6. This is Mr. Said. I'm coming to you straight from my son's room. And today we're going to look at Chapter 7. I think we've already started with Chapter 7. Okay, so I'm going to skip certain pages and then go to the parts where we haven't touched on. So if you can tell me where was the last page through this WhatsApp chat, I'll appreciate it, because as you know, I have a very bad memory. So if you can get this stream, if this stream is live and you can hear me, can you please send a message to the WhatsApp chat? I know it's delayed by about 20 seconds, but once I get it, I'll start the lesson proper. Okay, cool. So this is my first time trying this. We're gonna try to annotate this text. So I believe we've already done this first page. Okay, page 65, where Benjamin begins his journey to Naisna, being brought by the two census officers, right? And so we'll move on. Okay, yes, this, I think we mentioned something about the census officers promised Fiela that they will bring Benjamin back when the magistrate, or when the forest woman, which is Bartha, says that he is not theirs. But we already kind of like suspect, right? Of course, and in retrospect, we've already read the book, so we know that this is all a lie. So it's just a conspiracy to take Benjamin away. As you can see, just to repeat what we did the last time, is when Benjamin called them master, the way they spoke to him, you will have to stop saying master. You're among white people now. When the language itself proves that they want him to stop, you will have to stop. I mean, you have to completely stop behaving this way, behaving like a colored, because you're among white people now. And so, to me, it suggests that they have no intention to return him to this to Fiela, to where, I mean, he learned all these ways of being behaving like a colored, so-called, right? So if you read further on, okay, we do realize that, you know, on this journey, Benjamin's state of mind is very important, right? Okay, let's see whether we can start writing. Yeah, Benjamin's state of mind, okay, is, wait, I'm trying to draw a star, but see whether I can do that again. Yeah, okay, so Benjamin's state of mind is very important, right? And so this, to some extent, we kind of like learn about his character here. There are many aspects of his character that are revealed in this chapter, right? Look at the first this part. He was worried about Polly. If she did not stop her nonsense, Kika would never take her, and then they would not have chicks. His mother had said when the ostriches had chicks, many things that were crooked would get straightened out. Now, why would a child of 12 years old be thinking about ostriches and be thinking about the business at home? Probably because he's considerate and he's concerned about the well-being of his family and their state of affairs, right? So I think his quite a responsible boy, right? And there's this oops, trying to learn how to use this pen. Okay. There's this sense of duty, yeah, that he carries with him, you know, wherever he goes, right? Okay, so we move on. I think we've already covered this. Okay, and here we have, obviously we have him trying to figure out the 9 times table. Yeah, here, the 9 times table. Right. So if at any time you have questions, please send it to the chat group. Right. I think my table is poorly drawn, so I'm going to try it right again. 9 times table. Okay. Why is he so fixated with this? Right? Because he's trying to, when he sees the magistrate, he wants to project himself, he wants to portray himself as a boy, like what his mother said, a boy who is well brought up, right? Someone who's an upright person, okay, so that the magistrate has no reason to believe that Fiela has not brought him up properly. So and in that way, have reason to take him away from her, right? So he is adamant to prove that his upbringing, right? His upbringing by the Komotis, right, is noble. So the magistrate will have no reason to separate them, right? That's why I think he's so fixated with the 9 times table. He just wants to project a very good impression, right, to the magistrate. Okay, so we move on with his journey to Naisna. And after the initial smooth sailing, so-called smooth sailing, they meet some rough terrain. They go down some steep slopes, right? And he gets quite frightened by this. So I was saying, if you were to choose a moment, one aspect of learning this text, right, is being able to identify, right? Let me just write this down, okay? This is very important, right? You must be able to identify key moments in the text, right? And what sort of moments could this be? It could be traumatic moments. Okay, maybe I'll write that down. Traumatic, disturbing, example, touching, poignant, which actually means very sad. And in this case, dramatic. This chapter 7, especially this passage when they're going through the terrain, up and down the mountain, all the way to Naisna, there are certain passages that are very, very dramatic, right? Quite frightening, in fact, for Benjamin. I'm going to write a side note here. Also, if I'm not mistaken, chapter 29, okay, is very important. Also, another dramatic moment. Another dramatic moment, maybe dramatic in a way that is actually quite disturbing. Okay, so maybe disturbing, I'll put there chapter 14, right? If you can remember what this chapter, if you cannot remember, go and read. Okay, this one I have to delete. Okay, so here, right? When they go through certain difficult terrain, he gets quite frightened by this. Okay? He clenched his teeth, but the fear kept on making noises in his throat. He should have listened to David. David told him to run away, but then his mother said the best would be, okay, and so on. So this really probes or looks into his troubled state of mind. Okay, the way he reacts, okay, in terms of his, in terms of his thoughts, in terms of his emotions, to the difficult journey that he has ahead of him. First of all, he's alone, right, without his parents. He's young, so obviously he's intimidated by all this, right? And then of course the journey is difficult, right, and dangerous. Okay, so these are probably the reasons why he reacts this way. Okay, and again he tries to calm himself. So this becomes a strategy. The 9 times table becomes a strategy to calm himself. Oops, how do I write this? Right, the 9 times table becomes a strategy to stay calm, right? The road gradually got whiter. Later on, the dust was like dry white lime. The wind blew the dust against the bushes and it lay like ash. Okay? So, and the next bend, it seemed as if the horses' feet were treading the air. So near to the precipice, they tread as they went round with the cart. So the journey becomes even more precarious. More and more precarious, in fact, right? And the repetition of "Please, Master, I want to get down," or maybe I want to do a different color. Okay, let's see whether we can do a different color. How do I change color? I don't know how to change color. Oh, there you go. Alright. Is this highlighter? Yes, this is highlighter. Okay. Please, Master, I want to get down. It's so horrible, the highlighting. Let's try again. Please, Master, I want to get down. Yeah? It's repeated a few times. I want to get off, Master. Right? Where is this? Oh, okay. Must we go down there, Master? This is page 66. This is the first part. So I'm going to go back to the idea of talking about how dramatic this is, right? It all hangs on his dialogue, right? And what happens to him. Okay, so we start from here, right? We start from page 66. Okay, let me change this to the pen. Where's the pen? Is this the pen? Okay, this is the pen. Yes, correct. Okay. So how does this? How do you explain how dramatic this episode or this moment is, right? Because what is drama? Let's talk about drama, okay? I'm gonna write it down here. What is drama? We spoke about this briefly the other day. What is drama? Drama is there has to be some sort of conflict, right? Try to identify what the conflict or where the conflict is coming from, and there must be some sort of tension, rising tension, right? Okay. So when you have rising tension because of the conflict, in this case the conflict is that he is on the two reasons obviously why he doesn't want to be on the journey. Number one. Number two, the journey is becoming very, very difficult and scary and frightening. Okay, so that's the source of the conflict. Therefore, the tension starts to rise. And we look at the first part here. He asks, Okay, when he realizes how difficult the journey is going to be, or how difficult the terrain is going to be, he asks, "Must we go down there, master?" The anxiety is not yet very high, right? It's just, in this case, it's just maybe nerves, right? We start with nerves. He's showing nerves, right? Number one, he's showing nerves. Okay, and then we go further down. Okay, they looked at each other again and laughed. The fact that they laughed at him obviously makes him more annoyed, right? And he becomes more nervous. I mean, they're kind of mocking him, so he definitely starts to feel a bit more anxious. So, master, has this card got a break? The question, has this card got a break, comes from fear, isn't it? Right? So he starts to feel fear. The tension continues to rise, right? Obviously, the tension continues to rise. I put T for tension, okay, like that. Okay. So first you have the nerves. We see tension rising, right? And he starts to feel fear. Okay, I want to get off, master. Okay, he is not just fearful. This is, of course, he's starting to get really scared. But here he's pleading. Right? He's so afraid that he starts to plead. Yeah. Okay. His fear is palpable. Because he starts to shout, "Hey, why are you right palpable like that?" Okay. The short one turn around again. Don't shout like that. Okay. So, just now the people were laughing at him. Now they are just as afraid. Right. So this again increases the tension, doesn't it? Okay. Tension continues to rise. Okay. And the fact that he's trying to stay calm, the fact that he's using this strategy to stay calm here by reciting the 9 times table, he shows that he's extremely scared. Okay. And when the journey becomes even more precarious, he pleads, "Please, master, I want to get down." He's desperate, right? Here he's desperate. Okay, I want to go home, right? Again, repetition. Let's, where's the highlighter? I want to go home, master, right? So there you go. This is how you describe how a moment can be quite dramatic because of the escalating tension. Hey, what time is it now? 18 minutes has passed. Let's move on. Right. The road along the ravine, page 68, was level and not so bad. But after about an hour, they were heading straight for another mountain. Perhaps there would be a big hole through the mountain for the road and the cart. 3 times 9 is 18. Again, he is trying to calm himself. No, the nearer they came to the mountain, the barer and rougher it looked. Right? So obviously the journey was not going to get any easier. Okay, is the road coming to an end out front there, master? No, sit still. The tall one is still cross. The road started to turn. Gradually, the more it turned, the wider the mountain split apart. The nearer they came to the split, the more it seemed as if it were 2 mountains standing so close together that there would hardly be room for the horse cart between them. Right? When the road turned in between the mountains. So when what I propose is, what I suggest is, when you are choosing a moment, you don't have to draw out the moment. Just now that that moment that that we talked about, the part where the journey starts to get difficult, right? That's a very good example of how dramatic that moment is, right? When the tension is rising because of the nerves, because of the fear, because of the anxiety, right? And then Benjamin starts to get desperate. Okay, so you use that to describe one moment that is dramatic. It should be more than enough. Okay, the repetition of please, I want to go down, right? Okay, when the road turned in between the mountain, it tumbled down a slope with the most frightening soaring cliffs to either side. It doesn't get any easier. He knew they could never get down there without brakes. They would definitely be killed. So here, obviously, you know, this journey is making him really frightened. Master, I want to get down. Again, repetition. They did not look round or laugh as the horses were taking the bend. The short one threw himself to the middle and lay like that until they had rounded the bend. Now, at this point in time, obviously, even the census officers were laughing. Were not laughing anymore, right? Because they knew that the journey at this part of the journey was really, really dangerous. Okay. Round the next bend, the tall one threw his body to the middle of the seat. It was not two mountains, it was one mountain that had been rent in two. And the deeper they went down into the chasm, the higher the cliffs became on each side, right? It's very picturesque kind of description here, okay? If you, let's look at what page this is. This is page 69, okay? Yeah, we look at this. I'm going to kind of like highlight this part for you, okay? Give you an example, right, of how Darlene Matthew uses very detailed and a beautiful description, right, to even though it's a difficult part of the journey, even though the situation is very frightening, but the descriptions can be quite stunning, right? It was not two mountains, it was one mountain that had been rent into, and the deeper they went down into the chasm. What is a chasm? Why not what do you call it? Why not depression, or why not valley? Called chasm because chasm is a very deep hole, right? So the use of diction here is very important to help you to imagine, to visualize, right, the actual terrain. The higher the cliffs became on each side. So the contrast between the chasm and the cliffs, right? There is contrast here, right? To show you how distinguishing the features are. A stream of water rushed along beside the road over boulders and waterfalls. At times, they were high above the stream, then down below it, and then alongside it again. Enormous stone walls held. So I think you need to pay attention to the imagery, or rather the images that are being described here. You look at the word enormous, right? Adjectives that are being used. Okay. Chasm, this is a noun to indicate a very deep depression or hole, right? Okay, boulders, waterfalls, very picturesque. Okay, enormous stone walls held the road. The road crossed with a narrow wooden bridge. Horses' hooves and the cart's wheel made a different rumbling sound. Okay, deeper and deeper they drove, deeper and deeper repetition. They drove into the mountain's belly. The road was a red-brown snake, twisting and searching for a way out. So in the end, it ends with a metaphor, right? So I guess this is a very detailed and picturesque description of what is involved in the journey to Naisna. On some of the bends, the road was so narrow that he was sure the cart had gone round with one wheel in the air. Right? Quite dramatic, huh? Okay. White foamy sweat broke out on the horses' backs. Everything around them became the same red-brown color. Right, so I'm going to skip this and move on. Okay, to the next page. The two men ate. Oh, they took a break, right? When the road found its way out of the mountains, his head was giddy. They came to a ford where the horses pulled and tugged them through, and on the other side they unharnessed. So this part they took a break. What is this? Oh, this is still a highlighter. I don't highlighter anymore. Okay, I wonder. Yes. Okay, they unharnessed means they took a break. They were in a ravine once more. In front of them was yet another mountain, higher one. Whichever way I look, it's just mountains, master. So again, what do you call that? He is very, very anxious. Okay. Why like that? No. Sorry, wrong number. Okay. This is the Vloot. And the mountain you see ahead of us is the Vloot mountain. It's a tough one. Just when you think it's going to get difficult, they say it's going to get even more difficult, right? The two men ate. He was not hungry. He wanted to cry. He wanted to go home. So again, we go back to Benjamin's state of mind, right? Benjamin's state of mind. Okay. Why is it that we are constantly looking into Benjamin's state of mind? So that we can empathize. We can empathize with him, right? I mean, obviously we sympathize. Okay? But why his thoughts? Why his feelings? So that we can empathize, right? We can feel the way he feels, what he does, what he goes through. Okay? When they were on their way again, the road gradually became steeper as the road climbed higher, so did the stone walls. Horses strained in the harness, they pulled more and more slowly. Okay, this journey is not going to get any easier. Sunny, this is the Blue Mountain that I told you.